last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
One of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe is Darth Maul. Ever since I was 4 years old and saw The Phantom Menace, I just loved how badass his character was. His story goes well beyond The Phantom Menace, however, and dives much deeper into his psychology and his legacy. In this video, I'm going to explore his character, going through comic books, TV shows, and movies that he's appeared in, and explain his life from start to finish. Now, this is based on Disney canon, not Legends canon. I want to make that very clear. Also, there are obviously going to be spoilers, so there's your warning. Now, let's get started. Maul was born the son of Mother Talzin on Dathomir. Being a Dathomirian Zabrak male, he was a Night Brother and had two blood brothers, Feral and Savage Opress. Before his first birthday, Mother Talzin gave Maul his first tattoos. While Maul was a child, Mother Talzin allied herself with Darth Sidious, the Dark Lord of the Sith, and the two exchanged wisdom and power. Despite promising to make her his apprentice, Sidious eventually abandoned Talzin and instead took Maul once he realized the boy's potential. After being taken, Maul began training as Sidious's apprentice. For years, Maul was trained to become a weapon of the Sith, and he became an acrobatic warrior, one trained to be relentless against his enemies, and he learned to use a dual-bladed lightsaber. During his training, Sidious took Maul to Malachor, where a great battle occurred between the Jedi and Sith. Sidious forced Maul to breathe in the ashes of Sith warriors who had been killed there. While breathing in the ash, Maul had a vision of members of the Sith Order being struck down by the Jedi. He felt the slash of saber after saber as he felt the death of his Sith brethren. This Sith training made Maul long for revenge against the Jedi and restore the Sith to galactic power. Several years into his training, he became impatient and longed for a confrontation against the Jedi. So much in fact that he had to hunt to calm the viciousness inside of him, and he started to stalk a few Jedi, staying in the shadows of Coruscant. Sidious did not want Maul to reveal himself or the Sith, however, until the time was right, and he threatened Maul with death if he continued to risk their exposure. In an attempt to tame Maul's bloodlust, Sidious sent him to deal with pirates who were interfering with the Trade Federation. While there, one of the pirates thought Maul was a Jedi and begged Maul for his life in exchange for information. He told him about a Jedi Padawan who had been kidnapped and would be auctioned off to the highest bidder. Maul immediately began to search for the Padawan, desperate to strike them down, and he hired a few bounty hunters, two of which were Cad Bane and Aurra Sing, and later on they saved his life when Maul got in a bar fight, lost, and was almost killed. After saving Maul and the bounty hunters tortured a protocol droid to find out where the auction was being held. When they got there, they found out that the Padawan's name was Eldra Cadis. They allowed her to be bought at the auction, and when she was, Maul and his bounty hunters killed the highest bidder and took Cadis for themselves. They escaped on a ship, but he was interrupted when Zrexis, the person who auctioned Cadis off, had put a bomb on their shuttle and it was forced to crash land. Zrexis sent ships after them and they were forced to split up, Maul going with Cadis. When the two became surrounded, Maul gave Cadis her lightsaber and the two of them fought side by side and defeated them all. As soon as they finished them off, however, the two prepared to fight each other. Both proved to be a match for the other, but ultimately Maul got the upper hand and stabbed her through the chest. Maul went to Zrexis and took her life as well, ensuring the Sith's secrecy. He then returned to Darth Sidious, who told him that he knew he had killed the youngling and asked if he was satisfied. Sidious was very pleased to hear Maul say that no, he was not. Later on, Maul later worked with the Force-sensitive Zek Pyro while intercepting shipments. Eventually, however, Maul turned on him and killed him with a piece of metal, embedding it in his chest. Afterwards, Maul returned to Sidious, who told him that his antics were foolish. After that, Maul and Sidious returned to Malachor to expand his Sith training. While there, Maul had another vision, this time seeing himself as a Jedi and saving people that were of his own species, Zabraks. And Maul, disgusted by the Zabraks' worship of the Jedi, beheaded the one that he had saved, which Sidious praised, but told him that his rage and emotions alone were not enough to destroy the Jedi. After years of looking for revenge against the Jedi, Maul became part of his master's plan to take over the Galactic Republic and destroy the Jedi. They needed Queen Amidala to sign a treaty, and after tracking her to the planet Tatooine, Maul was sent to get her. There, he was forced to fight one of the Jedi protecting her, Qui-Gon Jinn, and the two engaged in lightsaber combat. Maul was looking to finish the Jedi off, but before he could, Jinn was rescued by the Queen's ship, leaving Maul fuming with rage. He then went to the planet Naboo, where the Queen and the Jedi had gone, and there he fought against Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi. This time, Maul got the upper hand and killed Jinn. but later lost to Kenobi, who cut him in half and let him fall through the shaft. Sidious moved forward, thinking that his apprentice was dead, and as did the Jedi. However, through his hate and will to survive, Maul used the Force to grab an air vent as he was tumbling down the reactor shaft, and eventually made his way to a trash container. Maul's shattered body was dumped on the junkyard world. He lived in the bowels of the planet, and had his legs replaced by a 6-limbed apparatus that allowed him to walk again. During his exile, he made a bargain with a sentient and sneaky anacondan named Morley, who agreed to bring him food in return for leftovers. Over the years, Maul was driven mad with rage and despair, but remained driven by thoughts of revenge against Kenobi. Mother Talzin knew that Maul had survived, and during the Clone Wars told Maul's brother Savage Opress, who eventually found him on the junkyard world. He discovered his crazed brother, but Maul did not know who Savage was, and barely had a hold of his own identity. All that remained of the former Sith Lord was his lust for revenge against the Jedi. Savage brought his brother to Mother Talzin, who repaired his mind and gave him a pair of cybernetic legs. The first thing Maul did was seek revenge against Kenobi, and he slaughtered civilians to draw him out.
There will be more innocent blood on your hands, Kenobi, unless you come here. Face me.
Maul and Opress captured Kenobi, but the Jedi was rescued by Asajj Ventress. During the rescue, Maul engaged Obi-Wan in a lightsaber duel for the first time in over a decade, and during the fight, Maul talked about how he killed Kenobi's master.
Your master, Qui-Gon Jinn. I gutted him while you stood helpless and watched.
Ultimately, however, Kenobi and Ventress escaped. Maul knew the Jedi would soon be pursuing him, which played right into Maul's hand in his quest for revenge. The two brothers went on a rampage across the galaxy. During one of their raids, Maul defeated Savage, asserting himself as his master rather than his brother, and he told Savage that he would complete his Sith training. Later on, the two befriended pirates, and were once again faced by Kenobi. After Savage got his arm cut off, Maul knew that they had to retreat, especially when the pirates that they had befriended turned on them as well. The brothers were weakened, Savage having only one arm, and Maul later losing one of his cybernetic legs. As they were escaping, the pirate Hondo shot their ship down, and he believed the two brothers to be dead, though Kenobi suspected otherwise. The brothers managed to escape alive, but they passed out from lack of oxygen and were then found by Death Watch. Pre Vizsla, who was the leader of Death Watch, had his team mend their injuries, saying that if they were enemies of the Jedi, then they were their friends. Realizing that they shared a common goal to take the Jedi down, and even more, had one specific common enemy, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Maul and Vizsla teamed up. Together they built their army, recruiting whoever they could, and they became very powerful. So powerful, in fact, that they moved on to overthrow the government of Duchess Satine on Mandalore. As this went on, Maul anticipated and counted on Pre Vizsla betraying him, and not too long after that, his suspicions were confirmed. Pre Vizsla had Maul and Savage Opress arrested and locked up. With Maul imprisoned, Death Watch declared themselves the leaders of Mandalore. Maul and Opress broke out, and Maul stormed into the Mandalorian throne room to challenge Pre Vizsla to an honorable death match. They knew that the winner would gain the allegiance of Death Watch and become the leader of Mandalore. The duel ended with Maul overpowering Pre Vizsla and beheading him with his own weapon, the dark saber that ancient Mandalorians had stolen from the Jedi in the Old Republic, which Maul now claimed as his own, along with the throne of Mandalore. However, Maul's victory split Death Watch in two, half of them refusing to pledge their loyalty to him. When Maul learned that Duchess Satine called the Jedi for help, Maul knew that Mandalore was neutral in the Clone Wars, so they could not send a team of Jedi to put a stop to this. But Maul knew that Kenobi would come alone to save the love of his life. Maul, anticipating this, knew that Satine would be a perfect tool for revenge, and when Kenobi came and was captured, Maul killed Satine right in front of Kenobi, forcing him to watch. Now taking two very meaningful people in Obi-Wan's life away from him, right in front of him. First his master, and now the woman he loved. As the civil war in Mandalore grew, Maul did not get a chance to be a part of it when his old master, Darth Sidious, sensed Maul's growing strength and went to take care of him before he became too powerful. Maul and Opress fought Sidious, who they were no match for. During the fight, Sidious killed Savage in front of Maul.
Brother,
And when Maul fought back, Sidious disarmed him, making him beg for mercy.
have mercy. Please.
Sidious told him that there was no mercy and hit him with Force lightning. He then told Maul that he was not going to kill him as he had other uses for him. After the duel, Sidious took Maul as his prisoner in a prison called Spire, and there, Maul was subjected to awful torture. The two were interrupted by Count Dooku, whose arrival angered Maul, as he was the one who replaced him as Sidious's apprentice. Later, Dooku and Maul were alone, and while Dooku interrogated him, trying to find out his known associates, he used Force Lightning to torture his predecessor. Maul resisted though, and after Dooku left, Maul's Death Watch allies attacked the prison and rescued their captive leader. Unknown to Maul, however, the Sith intended for Maul to escape so he could lead them to Mother Talzin. Once again in command of his forces, Maul reclaimed his dark saber and promised the Mandalorians the war that they had longed for. They were later attacked by separatist forces led by General Grievous, and while Maul's Death Watch army fought them, Maul fought Grievous himself. Grievous overpowered him with a strong kick, and when he realized that his forces were losing, he had his remaining forces retreat, and per Dooku's orders, Grievous let him escape, hoping once again that he would lead them to Mother Talzin. Maul contacted Talzin through the Force, and after he told her about his capture and loss against Grievous, Talzin told him to gather his remaining forces and prepare for another battle, this time luring Dooku and Grievous into a trap, and knowing that she was a target, Talzin did not join him. Before the huge fight, Night Brother warriors joined Maul's army after being sent by Mother Talzin. Maul ordered his forces to begin carrying out their assault on the ground, told the Night Brothers to wait in the command center for instructions, and Maul and his Death Watch forces used warships to assault the Separatist fleet in orbit. They boarded Grievous' ship, and Maul subdued Grievous. He gave him a choice, either disable the signal powering the droids on the surface, or die. This made Grievous disable the signal, and he was taken into custody. The battle droids being disabled also led to Dooku's capture on the surface. After the battle, Maul contacted Mother Talzin to inform her of his victory, and Talzin promised him that with Dooku and Grievous in custody, they would capture Sidious as well and gain the revenge against him. When Maul contacted Sidious, showing him his captured ally and apprentice, Sidious said that he had no use for them and said to kill them both, but Maul had other plans. Maul tempted Dooku to join him, saying that they were both betrayed by Sidious, but Dooku refused. Mother Talzin then appeared and told Dooku how she too had been betrayed by Sidious, and told him that his master was already trying to replace him. As they spoke, however, they came under attack by a Republic army led by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu. Now, with both their lives at stake, Maul and Dooku joined forces, ready to kill the Jedi. After killing one Jedi, the two Sith Lords escaped, and as they escaped, Maul told Kenobi that they would be seeing each other soon enough. After escaping, Maul called Dooku out, saying he knew he only allied with him on Sidious's orders, and Maul had him taken away. They made their way to Dathomir, Maul's home planet, and there, they planned to use Dooku as a sacrifice so Mother Talzin could have her physical return. They were interrupted by an explosion, however. When Maul went to investigate, he was met by Grievous and Sidious. This led to a lightsaber battle, which Mother Talzin also joined in while possessing Dooku's body. Talzin fought Sidious, while Maul fought Grievous. Maul overpowered Grievous, and meanwhile, Mother Talzin returned to her own physical form and dueled Sidious against his Force Lightning. Maul begged his mother to take his strength, and later said that they should escape together, but she refused and demanded that Maul retreat, saying that if she lowered her defenses, he would die. She shot him back, and he was dragged away by his Death Watch warriors. As he watched, he saw Grievous stab Talzin with his lightsaber, and Maul screamed out for his mother, but there was nothing he could do. As Maul fled Dathomir, his forces were defeated, Mother Talzin was gone, and in Sidious's eyes, even though Maul escaped, the former Sith Lord had been eliminated as a rival. Maul and his only remaining forces returned to Mandalore, where they stayed in hiding for some time. During the final days of the Clone Wars, they found themselves under siege by a battalion of clone troopers led by Captain Rex and Ahsoka Tano. During the siege, Maul fought Ahsoka in a lightsaber duel, mocking her as they fought. Maul, however, was led into a plaza where they trapped him in a ray shield. Maul got lucky though, because during the siege, Sidious initiated Order 66, causing all of Ahsoka's clones minus Rex to turn on her. Though Ahsoka was given the opportunity to kill Maul, she instead chose to save Rex. As a result of this, Maul once again escaped. Sometime after escaping the siege of Mandalore, Maul went back to Dathomir and became the shadowy leader of a criminal organization called Crimson Dawn. After the death of Dryden Voss, Maul was contacted by Kira, who informed him that Voss had been betrayed and murdered by Tobias Beckett and his associates. Irritated, Maul told Kira to return to Dathomir, and there they would decide what to do with Beckett and his accomplices. He finished their conversation saying that the two of them would be working much more closely from then on. Years later, Maul traveled to Malachor, the same place where Sidious had taken him during his training, but this time he was searching for the Sith holocron to gain the knowledge on how to destroy the Sith who wronged him so many times. times. However, his ship crashed, leaving him trapped there for years without contact from the wider galaxy. 3 years before the Battle of Yavin, or the events of A New Hope, an Inquisitor named the Eighth Brother tracked him down to Malachor, shortly followed by a boy named Ezra Bridger. He manipulated Bridger into helping him retrieve the Sith holocron. During their brief time alone together, Maul taught Ezra the ways of the dark side by preying upon the boy's passionate and aggressive tendencies. They later ran into Kanan Jarrus and Ahsoka Tano, who he had not seen since the Siege of Mandalore during Order 66. The four teamed up, and while Bridger trusted Maul, Ahsoka and Kanan did not. But nevertheless, with Maul's guidance, they made their way to the top of the temple to get the knowledge on how to destroy the Sith. Maul continued to encourage Ezra to use the power of the dark side, even tempting him to strike an Inquisitor down, which to the disappointment of Maul, he could not do, forcing Maul to kill her himself. Maul later betrayed the Jedi and said that Ezra was now his apprentice. He then blinded Kanan. And while dueling Ahsoka, he admitted that it wasn't just the Sith holocron that they had sent Ezra to get, but that as they spoke, Ezra was activating an entire battle station, which Maul planned to use to get revenge on all of his enemies, both the Sith and the Jedi. However, Kanan fought back, and even blind, he was able to send Maul falling down from the temple to the ground below. Maul survived the fall, and using one of the fallen Inquisitor's ships, he finally left the planet that he had been trapped on for so long, smiling as he plotted his next move. When Maul resurfaced, he held Ezra and Kanan's team hostage, demanding that he get both the Sith and Jedi holocron. He knew that if he put the two together, it would give him all the knowledge in the world and answer any question that he wanted. The Jedi agreed, and while they retrieved it, Maul used the Force to probe Hera's mind and find the Jedi holocron on their ship. When the Jedi arrived, Maul sent Kanan flying into space, and thinking he was dead, he went to Ezra, and together they opened the holocrons looking for a way to destroy the Sith. While doing this, Maul saw the words, "He lives," and went on to escape from the Jedi in a ship. Because they opened the holocrons together, Maul and Ezra had become mentally linked, and using that link, Maul found Ezra and threatened him to come to Dathomir with him. There they linked their minds together again, this time wielding Night Sister magic. This time around, they discovered that Obi-Wan Kenobi lived, was on a planet with twin suns, and that he held the key to destroying the Sith. After getting away from Night Sister spirits for using their magic, Maul sought his longtime enemy. He had been to the planet with twin suns once before, long ago when tracking down the Queen of Naboo. Maul eventually made his way to the planet, but he got lost and contemplated the thought of dying in the desert.
Kenobi!
Ezra eventually led Maul to Kenobi, and Maul did everything he could to get Kenobi upset, but nothing seemed to work until Maul realized that the reason Kenobi was there was to protect a boy, the thing that Maul had seen, the key that Kenobi had to destroying the Sith.
Protecting something? No. Protecting someone.
Kenobi ignited his lightsaber, ready to protect the young boy, Luke Skywalker, the new hope to destroying the Sith. Maul made a move at his enemy, but with 3 strikes, Maul was struck down. He fell into his greatest enemy's arms, gasping for breath, and asked him,
Tell me, is it the chosen one?
When Kenobi said that he was, Maul said in his last words that the boy would avenge them both and destroy the Sith once and for all. Maul's head fell, and his greatest enemy lay him to rest, closing his eyelids. That was the end of Darth Maul. Ultimately, Maul got his wish, and the Sith were destroyed by the boy that Kenobi was protecting. Maul had a sad life. He lost the only people that were close to him, Mother Talzin and his brother Savage Opress, both of whom were killed right in front of him. Despite the odds always being against him, Maul's strength and passion always brought him back, but it was fitting that his greatest enemy, Obi-Wan Kenobi, was the one who cut him down, finishing the job that he meant to do many years before. Maul was remembered long after his death, and he was mentioned by a member of the Wills as someone to be remembered in galactic history. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You can follow me on social media to see more of my personal life and see more of this little dude. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook for Movie Flame updates. And I want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons listed below. If you want to be featured in the next video, plus get a bunch of other rewards, become a patron today. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you press that like button and subscribe, and look out for more great videos on the way.